working with a lawyer and wondering how this lawyer came to acquire the skills they have? Or perhaps you're a law school student and you're wondering, what skills does it take to become a real lawyer? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about exactly that. The 4 critical skills that someone needs to become a successful practicing lawyer. For those of you that are new to this channel, my name is Pamela Metani. I'm an experienced business lawyer and the founder here at Graphene Business Law, a law firm working exclusively with business owners and entrepreneurs and doing so virtually and throughout the province of Ontario, Canada. If you're new to our channel, feel free to give this video a big thumbs up and click on the subscribe button down below. It helps the channel a lot, and it certainly helps that special algorithm a whole lot. As a lawyer of multiple years and somebody that has my own firm, so has seen different kinds of the law that a lawyer working for someone else might see, and has had all sorts of clients from all different walks of life, I can tell you definitively that the following 4 skills are skills that any tough, successful lawyer needs. The first skill is any lawyer needs to have very strong research abilities. When it comes to law, at least in the way we practice it in Canada and Commonwealth jurisdictions such as America, Australia, the UK, all of these countries, the way we practice our law is that we do rely heavily on past happenings. We rely on precedent, meaning other cases that have been decided before the case we're fighting in right now. We rely on acts and legislation, and to be able to unearth the right pieces of such content to cite for our cases, we need to have excellent research skills. Law cases can turn on which lawyer had the better research skills, because that lawyer will have cited either more creatively, perhaps even the same cases, but they'll have unearthed different bits and pieces within the same case, or they'll have unearthed a whole other level of cases and go beyond the more conventionally, more well-known cited cases within the community. Now, that context is talking about what you might know as the litigation type of law, right? The courtroom law. And I'll link a video up here and in the description box down below talking about the difference between litigation and transactional law. However, on the transactional front, where we're drafting documents, something we do a lot here at Graphene, drafting agreements for our clients, dream partnerships, dream businesses, whatever the case may be. In that context, as well as a lawyer, research is key to my developing an excellent agreement for the client at hand. Because I need to research, first of all, what these agreements might conventionally look like, but also to add my, Pam Metani flavor and flair and really special sauce to it. I need to be researching the really creative ideas I have in mind as regards how to best protect my client and their interests in this agreement can legally be applied. Because you might be thinking of a really special scheme to protect your client, but it might turn out after some research, maybe that's not fully, okay in the law. So then we backtrack, we pursue other avenues, but the onus I put on myself is that everything I'm putting in that agreement has been researched and is supported by law, some sort of law, again, whether legislation or acts or statutes or past cases and decisions judges have made. What we're putting, even on the transactional side, needs to be supported by law. The second skill that a lawyer cannot live without is strong writing skills. At Graphene Business Law, I'm super proud to share that our writing is excellent. I think it'd be cheesy to say, we write better than anyone else. But would I bet on myself ahead of anyone else? Absolutely, because I know what I've invested in my writing. And as Pam Metani, as a lawyer myself, I've won multiple awards for my writing. I'm a really confident drafter and writer overall, legally and non-legally. However, writing is going to be important, again, both within the transactional and litigation framework of law. If we're going the litigation route, what you might be more familiar with from the movies and the media is the lawyer speaking to the judge, is the verbal piece, okay? However, did you know, one statistic I saw floating around when I was in law school myself said that about 70% of a case that's made it to court is decided on the written materials. And when we're talking about written materials in court, we're going to be looking at pleadings, so a statement of claim or statement of defense. We're going to be looking at factums being submitted to the court. And these documents, as it turns out in a study that had been done within the legal industry, have not just more impact than the verbal or oral piece of advocacy involved, but they make almost the entire part of the picture an average of 70% importance. That means there's cases where it's like 80-90% decided on the writing, and that's a really big deal. On the transactional side, again, the saying, the pen is mightier than the sword, comes to mind, because it's all a game. You know, you do or die by your writing as well. After having researched it, imagine a world where some of us might even do the same research, but then is somebody wording it choppy? Is somebody wording it in a grammatically incorrect way? Is somebody wording it incoherently? So then the writing itself collapses in itself in this paragraph that might get questioned in front of a court and might not hold up the way your lawyer intended it to, despite the research they've done. So strong writing advances your interests at any point with any encounter in the legal system, whether transactional or litigation. The third skill that is critical is going to be a hybrid skill, if you will, of persuasiveness and advocacy. Again, the verbal or oral advocacy piece, we've all seen the "you can't handle the truth" moments, okay? First of all, that's not advocacy, that's just a quote said out loud. But when it comes to advocacy, we might all be familiar. The reason I mentioned that quote is with the verbal piece of a lawyer standing up in court, okay? And sure, that is verbal advocacy in the sense that it speaks to the persuasive bit. If two lawyers have the same exact script in front of them, but one of them is reading like that, and then the other is saying, "Your Honor, do you really?" That's the difference. So the way we present the same script verbally makes a difference. However, as a lawyer that has practiced both and does practice both transactional and litigation, I would venture again to say, owing to the importance of written documents in a court setting, and owing to the fact that in the transactional setting, it is entirely comprised of written documents, written advocacy always reigns supreme within the skill of advocacy that a skilled lawyer requires. Okay, and that's going to be to persuade verbally. Again, two people could have the same script and one of them could be more persuasive owing to presentation style. To persuade in writing is a whole other mammoth, because the sentence structure, what we're citing and what we're citing it for, and when we're citing a certain case in a piece of legislation, how the sentences feed into each other, the transitions between paragraphs. Something as simple as, you know, the same piece of writing with no headings is going to overwhelm the reader, if it's the same writing with consistent, regular headings, lets the judge know this happened, then this, then this, then that. And of course, in the transactional setting as well, those headings are going to speak to specific sections we're looking at and let the reader know, again, that now we're talking about this and this and this and this. So advocacy, whether verbal or in writing, is a skill that a successful lawyer needs. The best content in the world, if said in court, if presented in court with your hands in your pocket and you looking down the whole time and tremoring as you speak, will not hold. A crappier version of that same script, if said with confidence, in a good pace, and an empowered voice, will hold much, much better. And again, in writing, there's a lot more to persuasive writing with some of the tips I've mentioned like a minute ago, but written advocacy is the real gold star, and there's a lot that goes into that skill. The fourth skill that I mentioned is creative thinking. And I think this is one where a lot of lawyers I've known, this is a real differentiator between the quality of lawyer you're looking at, okay? There are lawyers out there who, I'm not talking about skill, I'm talking about strategy, okay? This isn't crapping on any lawyers. All lawyers are different, just as all people are different. Some are better than others, some are worse than others. Same goes for everything. Same goes for a haircut. One barber is going to be better than the guy next door. That's the way life works. And again, in this channel, we've talked about ways to make sure you're working with the best lawyer for you. I can link that video up here, and I'll also link it in the description box down below. But creative thinking matters tremendously, and it is one of my greatest assets as a lawyer. The way that I'm able to see the same script we've been looking at for, decades or 100+ years in the Commonwealth jurisdictions, the same cases, sometimes the same acts, the same section within an act, and I'm able to turn that in a way that advantages my client. Whereas another lawyer might just cite it. We might get to the same citation, but another lawyer cite it and leave it there, or another lawyer might cite it in the conventional manner. But where I differ is that I'm going to cite it in a more creative manner, just trying to add that originality of thought that always takes things one step further. When we were in elementary school, if you've gone to school in America or Canada, you'll know that we had like the levels of thinking. There was level 1, 2, 3, and 4, and level 4, which was the highest, best level, like the A+ level or A level, always included an element of originality in the rubric. And as I've grown from a child in elementary school to middle school and high school and undergrad and law school, my Juris Doctor, and of course in my practice as a lawyer, I have always taken that little sprinkle of originality aspect to heart, because it makes a difference. It makes a difference with how I speak to people every day and with how I'm able to get my point across, and it makes a difference in law as well. Now, that's something that, there are certain skills out there that come easier to others. You can't necessarily, for example, one thing you can't always teach, and this is outside of the ambit of lawyers alone, but in humankind in general, one thing that's not really easy to teach is hunger. You can't teach somebody to want something. Some people are born wanting. They want it, and they want it at all costs. Some people want it, some people kind of want something, some people just don't even try, okay? And the same, I think, creative thinking is a skill that is difficult to teach, because people are so cemented in their ways of teaching. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with conventional logical thinking, but I am saying that logical thinking coupled with creative thinking in law goes a really long way in a practitioner. And if you're a client, prospective client that's watching this video, potentially looking to hire a lawyer, or you've worked with a lawyer before, but you're just dealing with a more complex matter this time, or if you're a law school student watching this video, that matters to you as well, because if you're looking for a lawyer, you should look and have that listening ear for the little bit of creativity this person has. Or is it just like a square, what's the expression? Or is the lawyer you're working with just, check, 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 check? Or do they check and then think, what else can we do here? You can tell. And if you're a law student, again, watching this video, you should aspire for that bit of creativity. And by the way, part of the way you'll develop that creativity, although it's not one of the most easy skills to develop, is through being, even outside of the law, a really well-cultured, a really wholesomely developed person. Because part of the reason I'm able to make creative connections is because I've experienced things that most people haven't. I've seen and I've done and I've had happen to me, for better or worse, some things that the average person hasn't gone through. And that gets my brain firing at all times for the best, most creative solutions for my clients, because there's a chance that if we're talking about something, I've seen it before in some capacity in my life, either through serving clients at Graphene or personal development. So I'll leave that video there. You can, of course, Google what skills a strong lawyer has. You can Google what skills does it take to be a lawyer. You can Google what skills a successful lawyer possesses. And I hope this video has been helpful, again, to clients looking for a lawyer, to be able to smell, how to get the most bang for your buck, how to get the best lawyer. Most lawyers are going to charge roughly the same fees. And if it's something too low, it should be a bit of a red flag. And if it's something too high, well, you better ask a lot of questions as to what's driving that cost. but with most lawyers charging roughly the same pool of fees, you should want to get the best lawyer you can for your dollar. And again, this video having wide audience application if you're a law school student or somebody thinking to go to law school and become a lawyer. Hopefully this video plants in your mind what it takes to be a really good lawyer as well. That being said, I want to thank you for watching. If you have a skill in mind that you think a lawyer should have but I haven't mentioned, go ahead and post in the comments down below. We do have a little bit of a community here at Graphene Business Law, and one of the best ways to continue to develop and strengthen that community is through communicating with each other. So if you have a certain skill you think a lawyer needs that maybe I haven't mentioned, feel free to ask why it wasn't mentioned. If you're curious about learning more about any one of these skills, of course we can make a video on that as well. And again, speaking of videos, give this one a thumbs up and click subscribe. Thank you for watching.